Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Om. Namaste. Gita verse. We are still looking at the verse 10 in which Krishna says that in regards to upasana, remaining alone in solitude with a restrained mind and body, without any desire and without any possession, a yogi should constantly engage into meditation or upasana. Okay. We have looked into that. Meditation must be something that you do on your own. This thing about group guided meditation, I was never really much fun of that, you know. So it needs to be a personal, individual effort of purifying the mind, educating the mind, disciplining the mind. It involves the body-mind, yeah? The mind and the body. So, and then Krishna, and then Swami Paramarthananda goes and presents all these unfoldments from that. And that took us to the we know that before we get into those specific pre-meditation or sadhanas preparing for meditation, we need to be a good karma yogi, you know, observing Dharma and understanding the relationship with the Lord. And then we need to go and make sure that we have a health, physical body, a proper environment, atmosphere, which facilitates my effort to keep the mind focused on a symbol of the Lord, and observing some certain positions of the body. And then from there, we're going to make sure that we don't fall asleep and we don't get too much rajasic either. So there are many things to do in preparing the mind to really go into that profound contemplation on the nature of God. Let me see where we are here. So it is presented in 8 stages, as we have seen. The place should be clean, nice, and quiet, with not much chit-chat around you. You want to develop a certain state, and then you have, if you associate the state with the environment in which you got that state, is easier. So association is a good mechanism. I remember some different school where the guru used to create an environment where people used to go into samadhi or profound meditation state. And then he would release a fragrance, a beautiful fragrance. Have you heard about that, Mark? And then he would release a certain fragrance.
Sorry, no, I haven't heard. Yeah.
So, and then that state would be associated with a certain fragrance. And we all know that because we have had good certain moments in which our mind was so beautifully resolved. And sometimes it is a song, sometimes it is a smell, sometimes it's a scene, you know, that somehow when we remember that song or this and that, the mind somehow by association recalls or develops again a certain state. So the sage would release a fragrance again and again. And then it said that with time, by the law of association, people would sit, and then he used to release the fragrance right at the beginning, and people would move into meditation easily. You understand? The law of association. And then another point here is the time for meditation. We have seen that the morning is a good time. The third thing is where are you going to sit? What cushion? Are you going to sit on your bed, wooden chair or whatever? Which position, with crossed legs or not, depending on the condition of your knees and so on. So the bottom line is that you need to sit comfortably, keeping your spine as straight as possible, allowing the flow of pranas to go in and out without much obstruction. And that is the more gross aspect to be observed. And then we go into preparing the mind to go into meditation, meaning to say you have to have certain discipline of sense organs and thought, which is a little bit more difficult because the mind likes to wander, and you have to tell the mind, so stay quiet. This is time to contemplate on the Lord. So, and then the posture of the body is highly exalted here, highlighted here by Swami Paramarthananda. He says that the asanas are a wonderful exercise to keep the body. The body and the mind are one integrate organism. And if you keep the body in good shape, the mind is in better shape. The mind is in good shape, the body is in better shape as well. So therefore, the asanas, they are very important, Swami says. And then he even goes to the extent to say that only by now it became famous in the Western world, the importance of those asanas. And these asanas are good. The problem is to believe that they are an end by themselves. They are just to get the physical body in better shape. Then we have to deal with the wandering mind, the distractions coming through the sense organs, the 5 sense organs. And the last step is the mind. And the final step is the intellect that you have to manage to, with the buddhi, The intellect must stay with it. And here Swami puts that the buddhi means you have to be fully convinced that this spiritual effort, sadhana, I often like to put into effort to elevate myself as the spirit, or in my understanding, I am the free spirit. So purify, refine this self-knowledge. So the Buddha must be convinced that it's worthwhile to go through all this struggle, Mark. You understand? So conviction regarding the necessity and utility of Vipassana. One must be convinced that that's the way to go. And then I have to observe all these 7 steps until in the 8th step, my intellect must be proud and happy that I'm doing this, because I have no doubt that that's the best game in town. It works, it will take what it takes, but it's the best thing I can do with my life, which is to bring about spiritual elevation or refinement. If the intellect is not fully convinced, it's very easy to give up, as we know. In anything in life, if we're not convinced of the value of something, we give it up once we get in contact with obstacles. And Upasana will present us several obstacles, being the wandering mind the most challenging. So those are the 8 steps preparing to go into what is said, the final state of samadhi, in which self-knowledge is possible, because at that point the mind is prepared for the Vedantic nididhyasana, which is the contemplation on the nirguna nature of Brahman rather than the saguna nature of Brahman. The saguna nature of Brahman is easier because it's a more tangible goal. So the mind more easily managed to use that symbol, saguna, as a means to develop one-pointedness and focus and expansion and so on, and purity. And then in the next class, Swami Ji, he reminds us of Bahiranga sadhanas, which are the sadhanas, not sadhana, but observance of Dharma mentioned, referred in this passage of the Gita as antarangas sadhanami. The specific experience to be observed before prime. Now, having talked about Bahiranga, which is the general observance or sadhanas, such as the Karma Yoga, we then enter in the Antaranga Sadhanani, which are the specific discipline that we have just covered now. These are the 8 factors that Krishna is talking about, but Krishna does not systematically arrange them. He presents them, and then Swamiji puts them in order for us. No? He says, this is my contribution to the Sampradaya here, to somehow structure it in an orderly way. In the 10th verse, Krishna begins the discussion on the practice, and one should be fit and should find a quiet place and so on, preferably a sacred place. Atma means the mind. One should apply the mind in meditation. A secluded place is where in a secluded place. And now many people should do meditation together. Krishna says, do not have other people around you, because it becomes a a distraction, and everybody's watching everybody else. I know that because in the ashram of my first guru, we used to meditate in group, larger groups and smaller groups, but in groups. And it was a common thing, open the eyes a little bit to see how the others were doing, you know, if they start falling asleep, or if some people has collapsed already.
Yeah, same thing in Turu last year, Arlindo. In the ashram, you just see the eyes open and look around.
Yeah. Human nature is curious. Krishna does not talk about the appropriate time, but we already spoke about that. And then here he just highlights Patanjali's Yoga Shastra. They do not prescribe meditation in the beginning, but they say that meditation should come after these preconditions have been gained, which begins with Karma Yoga and then goes through observance of Dharma, and then, you know, find the proper lifestyles, and then the proper environment, a fit body, and a good posture, and so on. So 8 stages: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, which is more important. And we are going to this initial part here. It's not the best of the chapter 6, but then we're going to go into pranayama, among others, and we will see the beauty of this sadhana, of this upasana. And then that would come and to dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Samadhi is a mind which is very sattvic and enjoy the peace and clarity. You can find Krishna talk about all of these preparations. Yama and yama, the beginning is regulation, observance of dharma, and regulation of the way I conduct myself in the world, self-discipline, self-vigilance. You know, I want to develop a fair, just, dharmic character. If the body mind is not fair and just, you know, the mind cannot be quiet, because the mind, a bad character is always anxious that something bad is going to come, because I know I'm violating Dharma right and left. A mind without a good Dharmic character will be a disturbed mind. Yes, of course. Subconsciously, there will be always this concern. Therefore, yama and niyama talk about the regulation of one's behavior. No, it's not regulation. One has to somehow see the value of following Dharma and make a huge effort during our day-to-day activities. This is all before Upasana, to conduct myself in a proper way, in a good way, in a dharmic way, in a fair way, in a just way, in a friendly way, in a generous way, and so on. And then asana is keeping the body fit, as we know. If the body is in pain or unfit, you know, it's like having a stone in your shoes. If you have a little stone in your shoes, you're going to feel uncomfortable, and you cannot really go about your day unless you remove that stone. But there is no stones, and the shoes was nicely made and soft, and so on. And then I forget that I have a pair of shoes. The law is when the shoe fits, you forget the shoes. So when the body is fit, you forget the load of the body. The body is pulled by gravity, and it declines, and then there will be pain and so on. Again, I remember Papaji saying that in his own way of explaining self-inquiry and self-knowledge, they say, okay, so you were this and that, so look at that, look at the mind, trace it back to consciousness, and do it now, because later on you're going to be old, and then there will be illnesses and pain in the body, and things are going to catch up, and you are not going to be able to do that. And he would go to the extent that we need to do that before the 40s. And I was getting desperate, Mark. I say, oh my God, I'm crossing the the deadline here, you know. And but it's dangerous concept to put out, you know, very dangerous concept. But he was trying to motivate all of us to do something that cannot be done, because the understanding is going to take place only when the soul is mature. The fruit is going to drop when it's properly mature. So asanas prescribed in Ashtanga Yoga, the body must be in good health, fit, and then you sit for how long? 45 minutes or 20 minutes? It says even 10 minutes, 5 minutes. If that sitting, you know, contains quality to it, it's not a question of time, but quality. Therefore, asana must be observed for the fitness of the body. And then he says asana yoga. Asana upasaka, sometimes I hear him saying asana upasaka or asana yoga is a good system. Nowadays, it's being recognized all over the world, and then people believe that yoga is just asana. When you say, oh, you do Vedanta, you teach Vedanta. Oh, yeah, oh, I know, I do yoga. Yoga, yeah, I do yoga. Now, they do stretching and yoga, and they believe that that's all there is to this world yoga. So yoga is a good system. The world is recognizing it. They do not know that yoga is just a means by which you get the body fit and the mind also more prepped for deep meditation. So asana and pranayama. Pranayama comes together with a fit body. Pranayama and asanas will help in keeping the body fit. So when the body is relaxed, we know that the prana is very relaxed as well. But if the body is stressed out or depressed, the prana is not really in good shape. Or either it is suppressed or it is over stimulated, and that is going to affect the mind either on the lower side as a tamasic mind, make you falling asleep, or rajasic mind, wandering mind, unable to meditate as well. So nirash means desire. The desires, a mind should be free of desire, as it says in the verse. Here, Swami says, which means without binding desires. Legitimate non-binding desire is okay. A parent being interested in the health and well-being of one child is legitimate. It should be maintained non-bind, moderate, proportionally justifiable, and whatsoever desire, we should ask the desire to wait until I'm done with my upasana. What do you mean? What do you mean by non-binding? So we know that. We know the desires may be there, but desires are okay if they are dharmic, non-binding, and genuine and moderate. So if I do that, my desires are going to be non-binding, if I observe that. How you know if the desire is bind or non-bind? A binding desire is going to disturb the mind, period. A non-bind desire is going to do what to the mind? The mind is going to say, so what? I wish, but, I leave it to the Lord. And then he talks about free of possessions. What is non-possession is very emphasized. It's a simple living. And then he brings in an expression that I find it beautiful. High thinking generally goes with simple living. So if I want to develop a wise mind, I need to, generally speak, to living a lifestyle in which my life is simple, because the more possessions I have, the more I have to go about keeping it, maintaining it, holding it. And the chances are that I almost invariably I get attached to what I possess. Unless you're a yoni, you're going to get attached to what you possess. So a simple living is a good thing. Simplifying one lifestyle, as we often say. Why? Because my goal here is not to accomplish these things of the world, but I want to accomplish properly qualified body-mind, so that I can finally claim my nature as free and independent of all experience of the body-mind. If I have a life of a luxurious life with many possessions, unless I'm so, there is no way. If you are very rich, you attach your possessions. Here he's talking about how I'm going to maintain this. Well, I have my employees maintaining everything to me, but doesn't matter. You have to maintain your employees as well, So the more we have, the more tied we are to this world, unless someone is a wise jnani person. We know that there are kings that become wise and they have the entire kingdom under him, but he can handle that without developing a disturbed mind because he gained self-knowledge. Therefore, let's keep our life simple, the best possible, according to my own karma. Okay, reduction of possession leads to a simple life. Simple life leads to a reduction of possession. In fact, Shankaracharya defines sannyasa as a lifestyle of simple life, maybe. For him, he analyzed any word to sannyasa. So reduce your possessions means reduce your interaction with the world. But even if one renounces the world and become a sannyas, then also there are minimum possessions, as we know. My dress, my plate, my bowl, my whatever. What is the key here? You see the key here, there are two keys here to not develop attachment to things. One of them, which the easiest, is to know that none of this belongs to you and that everything belongs to the Lord. And it's something very intriguing because the ego, under the spell of avidya, it often feels like I and mine. I was walking around my property here, and then there was an angle from there that I saw my house. I have a nice, beautiful house. And I saw it. I was with my cell phone and I made a picture. And then immediately there was this feeling, which house is this? When I found myself here, to whom does my house belong? I just realized there is no sense that this is my property, this is my possession. You understand? And that can be accomplished by understanding that none of this belongs to us. Everything belongs to the Lord. The Lord has provided a home in which I can spend whatever time the Lord allows in this apparent order of reality. So how did it come about? About Punya Papa. Punya Papa brings about everything, brings and takes things away and go on, and things go on. I can just use it as a lease, or I will take care, yes, let's take care of the property, of the house, do maintenance, but that feeling of I and mine should never be there in a wise person, you understand? Another way to neutralize this sense of possession, which brings about attachment and disturbance, is also to understand that all of these nama rupas are just superimposition on that which is I, Brahman, conscious existence of Satchitananda nature. And then how can you be attached to something that it's just a superimposition or a projection, apparent projection? How can I be attached to a mirage once I see a mirage in the sand And then I go there. Oh no, it's a mirage. Oh no, but let me look again. I'm attached to that mirage. It was so beautiful, you know. So either you are not attached because you know that none of this is real, or you accept the apparent reality and you know that everything belongs to Maya/Ishvara. Whatever you feel you possess, at least during the time of meditation, just give it back to the Lord and say, oh Lord, I know it all belongs to you. Sometimes I think it's mine, but my children, my wife, my relations, my business, my house, everything, I rely on you so that you take care. You have given and you're going to take it. All of this serves as an opportunity for me to love people and things, the art of loving people. Therefore, they are the children of God, temporarily given by God, so that I can learn to love people in spite of all differences and disagreements. They do not belong to me, and so on. Therefore, aparigraha, graha, reduce sense of possession, and with regard to minimum possessions, also give up the sense of ownership of whatsoever minimal you have. Have the idea of trustship. It was just, I'm a trustee, or this was trust to me, and I will take care because everything is the Lord. All the objects are created by the Lord, and therefore I respect everything, and I take care of everything. So these are all the conditions. These are not the meditation itself. These are conditions to have the mind prepped to go into real meditation, real upasana. Yeah. So what is upasana? Is to bring the mind to one symbol of God, either superimposed by attributes, Saguna God, or Nirguna God, which is more difficult because it's not as tangible. What is meditation? The ability to bring the mind and stay focused on the nature of God. I need to have those qualifications and conditions in place so that I have the possibility to be successful. And otherwise, one loses confidence that meditation is possible. I saw it all the time around my first guru, that in the beginning people are very enthusiastic, and then they find themselves, they feel themselves impotent before the wandering mind or the tamasic mind, and they give up. They give up believing that it's not possible. They were not taught that meditation comes at the very end before you have to prep the body-mind complex. And one has to be stubborn to persist with meditation in spite of one's unpreparedness. I was one of such a case. In spite of not being prepared, I was stubborn, pushing, trying, never giving up. Well,
Good on you. Yeah. Yeah, it does take determination to succeed in that path.
yeah, luckily. And then the verse 11, it says, in a clean spot, one should firmly fix one's own seat, which consists of clothes. One should once fix one's own, okay. One should find and establish my own seat for meditation, which consists of clothes or skin or kusa grass. one over the other. So it is not relevant for those of you who like to tap into those details of the Vedas, which describes things that were relevant thousands of years back. The common sense here is that one should feel comfortable and the spine should be straight, and some other preparations should be there. So it's not really relevant to talk here about the skin of a deer or certain grass that does not exist anymore. Okay. The important thing is secluded place. That place should invoke any devotion in my heart, or religions or spiritual thoughts in my mind. So choose either a natural sacred place or a place that I can artificially turn into a sacred place, my sacred place, my little corner in the house or whatever, or a place near the river. He says you can create a sacred environment by using the pictures of our Mahatmas, of devatas, keeping some writings of the scriptures on the wall. They remind me, they are making my mind remember. And then again, it reminds us of the value of asana. Oh, excuse, asana. Asana. Asana, 3 layers of asana. Some 3 layers of to make this super powerful spiritual seat on which you can meditate. Okay, you can read that. As I told you, there is some symbolism, there is some ideas, but we don't want to go around killing deers, to pull the skin, to try to reproduce something that is no longer.
I think it's also for practical reasons. The skin is on the ground to stop the moisture coming up. The grass is to soften it. And then the cloth over the top is just to stop the grass sticking to your trousers or whatever.
Mm.
That's
but we don't need to go about looking for the supplies to make them, because there are other ways you can insulate the humidity of the floor from you.
Yeah.
So we live in modern times. We don't even need to sit on the ground. We can have small seats. I mean, all kinds of seats.
Yeah, right.
I don't remember in Tiruvannamalai from the old days of my first guru and then Papaji. Everybody had special seats designed and made in India to hold your back straight and so on. I can't sit for much long unless I'm holding my back. So every time I went to the Ramana Ashram to sit for pujas, to meditate, or just to enjoy myself there, I had to go early to find a spot against the wall on the left side where the male crowd is, I always was there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't stand much. The back pain comes, and then the mind is disturbed.
Yeah.
Okay. Here he says, so now I'm confused, Swamiji. So does that mean that I have to go hunting a deer to take the skin? And he says, no. The idea is there. You should keep your spot Once you found a comfortable spot, not too soft, not so hard, and so on. Whatever. There are a lot of synthetic materials that can make that same effect. It should be firm because why it should be firm? Because if I use something too soft or too hard, it's going to be problematic. Anyhow, verse 12, seated there on the seat, your favorite seat, having restrained the activities of the mind and sense organs, and having made the mind one-pointed, one should practice dhyana yoga for mental purification. So now we begin talking. So after we have got all those conditions in place, and then my mind is restrained, the sense organs are under control, I have got one pointed mind on a symbol of God, and then I begin my practice of dhyana yoga. For what? For mental purification. Dhyana yoga here, it means Vipassana yoga, not meditation yoga.
Okay.
On Saguna Brahman. And that's going to bring mental refinement, mental purification. And then if we enter in Nididhyasana, and then I should practice Nididhyasana for mental purification? No. We practice Nididhyasana for certainty of self-knowledge. Okay, for claiming my nature as Satchitananda, Brahman. Then again, we should watch the mind as well before we go into this meditation. For purification, the mind has to be somewhat disciplined. The sense organs and so on, the organs of actions. You train the mind, the sense organ, the organs of actions. You give an out-suggestion to your own mind. Now I have an appointment with my Vipassana, with God. And please, leave me alone, mind. So things like that. We have to find our own ways to deal with the obstacles here. A lot of tricks can be played as if you can, educate your mind to respect your higher desires. And having withdraw the mind from the world, one should do what? Having withdraw from the objects of the world, I have direct the mind towards what? My object of meditation, which is God. The mind has got tremendous energy, which we are wasting through unnecessarily worries and concerns and memories, desires, fears. The mind has got so much energy. In meditation, I need to hold the mind, use the entire energy of the mind without leaks, without waste, and bring the mind to a symbol of Brahman. The wasteful flow of mental energy and that stored mental energy or thoughts I direct towards God. It's a little bit like a dam, water. The water is going wasted here and there and find its way back into the ocean. I have to somehow stop those wastes, those dispersions, and hold the water, and then I can intelligently use the water for irrigation and cultivation. Meditation is like a lens. When the sun rays are traveling parallelly, they do not have that much energy. But when you use a lens and all the beams of sunlight are converged on a point, then the energy is so much so that it can catch fire. Most of the fires that around the world, that's what I used to hear people saying that in California, especially, is that just piece of glass here and there that used to trigger a fire. The energy is there, but you need to converge the energy so that the mind can be powerful and produce the refinement and the purification which is my goal with Upasana. So in fact, one of the methods of lighting the fire in the Vedic sacrifice is by using lens. One method is Arani Matana, another method is using lens. Similarly, here also through meditation, I'm converging the power of the mind to one point, which is my contemplation on the nature of God. What is the purpose of such a meditation? It's purification of the mind, refinement of the mind, improvement of the mind. So from this, it is very clear that Krishna does not prescribe meditation for self-knowledge. He does not say practice upasana to get self-realization. Krishna does not prescribe upasana for self-realization. According to us, self-knowledge has to come only through the study of the scriptures. According to us, self-knowledge comes from study, and then reflection, contemplation, and application of the scriptural knowledge. The so-called Vedanta Shastra Vicharana, Jnanopati. As I said in the introduction, meditation does not, and will not produce any new knowledge. Then it is meant for what? Remove the impurities of the mind. Meditation, upasana, which is bring the mind to one object of focus, will never produce any knowledge, any new knowledge. For any new knowledge, we need a means of knowledge. And for self-knowledge, we need a special means of knowledge, because this self-knowledge is not in respect to any object of knowledge, but it's the very nature of the subject, Atma. So therefore, Upasana serves basically for removing the impurities of the mind. Here, Malam and Vikshipa. Malam means unhealthy ways of thinking, bad habits, patterns, bad vasanas, samskaras, raga, vesha, kama, krodha, all those negative thought patterns are called malam, uncultured thoughts, unrefined thoughts, indecent thoughts, ignorant thoughts, all those thoughts that somehow hold me in samsara, bound me in samsara, they are called malam. And vikshipa thoughts is the second kind of impurity, which is extrovertedness of the mind. Is a mind distracted through the sense organs and wandering all over the place, restlessness. Therefore, removing the mala and remove the vikshipa, mala, vikshipa, rupa, is the purpose here. After purifying the mind, making the mind pure, beautiful, not a negative mind, a positive mind, mind which is alert and focused here now. And here now the mind wants to meditate on the nature of God. But for self-knowledge, one must, once the mind is purified, one must go through the study of the scriptures, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana with the help of the Guru. The next question is, suppose a person practices meditation after the study of the scripture. This is nice. Suppose a person practices meditation after the study of the scripture. When what? Then what is the purpose? Because here we say that we need to practice meditation, upasana, before we do nididhyasana, before we study and contemplate on the scriptures. But how about if someone is doing meditation after has gone through studying the scripture? The person did Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. This is something that I see happening in my group in Brazil, because most people have no clue what it is, the effort to try to meditate or to bring the mind to one object of meditation. People have no clue. Most of everybody that done to Brazil have never really done that. But they have done a lot of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. One of the values of this 6th chapter was for me to understand that maybe now people who have done a lot of study and contemplation on the teachings on self-knowledge, these people maybe need to revise karma yoga, dharma yoga, and do some meditation to further prep the mind, purify the mind. A person practice meditation after have done much Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. So, and then what is the meditation for? In my introduction, I did meditation can be either done before study or after. If it is before, it's called a technical name, upasana. If it is after the study of the scripture, it's called nididhyasana. But that is a general statement here. Because nididhyasana is literally bring the mind to contemplate into the nature of God, free from the gunas of Maya. So you want to meditate on the nirguna nature of Brahman, which is my very nature, and that meditation is only possible by meditating on the mantras that establish the identity between Jiva Atma and Paramatma. So you can do that meditation. You have done so much. Suppose you have done so much Shravana and Manana. And now you say, I'm going to do Nididhyasana. But maybe the mind is not prepared to do that Nididhyasana yet. So, and then the mind can go, instead of doing this very subtle meditation, which is a meditation on the statements of identity, it may do a step back after having done much study and contemplation on the teachings of the scriptures, of the Upanishads. The mind can go back and use whatsoever symbol of Saguna Brahman to further develop one-pointedness. Okay. Because the mind maybe knows a lot of things, but although Jnana Yoga, Vedantic Jnana Yoga purifies the mind big time, yet the mind may be suffering of some of that malam or the other problem, vikshipa. Yeah? You understand? Does it make sense?
Yes, it does make sense, Alinde. I find myself in that situation as well a little bit. Going back now and redeveloping the qualifications.
The purpose of Vipassana is what? Remove of those impurities, Malan and Vikshipa, removal. Now, after I did so much travel and manana, I have studied scripture with the help of the scriptures and the Guru. After receiving the knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi, suppose a person practice meditation. Then what is the purpose of meditation? He says then also it is for purification only. Purification from what? From which purification? We say, even after Vedantic knowledge, we have got habitual vasanas or body identification or bad mental patterns, emotional disturbance. Okay, those are bad vasanas, otherwise called viparita bhavana, otherwise called viparyaya. As long as we have some impurity, some habits, and some disturbance, self-knowledge will never really be held. Okay, the mind is experience some negativity, some impurity, some disturbance. It's like you shift one of your books or anything. We often rearrange things in our house, in the shelf. We take some book from here to there. You just shift. After shift, you will find that you again go back to the old place where the book was there before. You know those habits. I keep my key always here and here. And then one day, out of distraction, I leave it in a place that I'm not used to. So I lost my keys, I lost my keys, I lost my keys. So we go back to things, to the place where we are used to, and the mind does that, go back to some old patterns due to ignorance that is still impact and influence the mind. We have to rearrange the mind. At least I can say, but even after deliberating, rearrange the mind, next day I go to the same place, and this is to point to something that we call the force, the power or the force of habits. Vasana is habits. So there are some good habits. Keep things in the same place is a good habit. And every time we fail, we have a problem because my habit is not take to that place where usually that thing should be. The body identification is a habit. Therefore, in meditation, I have to train my mind that I'm not this physical body. And the removal of this idea, this notion, is called Atma Visuddhaya. So thus, whether it's before the study of scripture or after, meditation for breaking whatsoever tendencies of identify with the body and the world and the problematic development of vasanas, which are based on self-ignorance. So they will probably require more further purification. Not for realization, it says, but for being able to enjoy the fruits of realization. So this is a clear example of someone who realized but could and should do some upasana for purification so that one can enjoy the fruits of self-realization without much conflict in one's life. That is the bottom line. There are examples and more examples that we see that people that could and should have used some more purification. Okay, we're going to carry on from verse 13. I'm saying that as a note for myself as well. And next Friday, okay? Tomorrow we're back with our Upanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste.
Thank you, Arlindo. That was a very nice class. Even with just the two of us, I enjoyed it. So it was
Good.
beautifully unfolded. So thank you.
We go back to Mandukya tomorrow. Much love. Bye-bye.
Okay. You too, Arlindo. Bye now.
Bye bye.
Bye.